Isn't this great? The second time that we organized this event. So many people joining, actually. Let's be fair, very close to Christmas. We still need to make Christmas presents or go out and buy them, prepare food, find a good recipe, think about, the in-laws that are going to be there. Stress. A special thanks today for Zdenek. He's broadcasting from Brno because that's where Ysoft sits or lives, the main office of the company that he works for. And this is not just any company. And Zdenek is not just anybody, guys. This is one of the reasons why we organize these great meetups, because in our community, we know a lot of people and we can bring them close to you, like at touching distance. And you can ask questions. How do you do it? How come that Ysoft succeeded in becoming this higher archetype, upper right corner of the orthopologies map?
Most of you did the video course. So we had interviewed Zdenek about a year ago. And Ysoft is still there, Zdenek is there, and the company is striving, and they still, I think, have, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 product managers and 14 teams last time.
Yep, I'll explain.
Yeah, so it's actually unbelievable. It's almost like a Christmas surprise how a company can sustain that ratio, of product managers to developers, while most of the other organizations are splitting teams into smaller teams and hiring more product owners. And you guys are not doing that. And we really want to know why and how you are different and what's so special about Ysoft and what can other companies learn from that.
I'm Zdenek. I work at Ysoft for many years, but in the role that's called area product owner. The terminology comes from less when we thought that we will do areas. Worked there for 4 years around this time at this position. And I briefly want to touch on what do we do at Ysoft, and that's only so you can relate to your own environment, your own world. We have around 400 employees in total, and around 120 is in the research and development. The research and development is mostly co-located in Europe, in Czech Republic. Most of that really in Brno, in the city of Brno, in the Czech Republic. But our business is worldwide. We do B2B because I think that brings some dynamics that are important, that are maybe not in when you go directly on Netflix situation. We do have our cloud service, meaning service is something that customers subscribe to, B2B, so businesses through partners. We have just recently went over 500,000 active users, like people who really actively print. Printing is our industry. There is some hardware involved, meaning printers. There is some software. Something has to be coded on the workstations. Something has to be coded in the cloud. And something has to be coded into the actual printer. And we also have a large amount of customers on our enterprise on-prem software, which is really a huge, large world customers. I'm not sure where's the NDA who I can name or not, but large enterprises with even hundreds of thousands of users or employees. We do manufacture some of our own hardware, which kind of can be used with our solutions. It's a fairly wide portfolio of things that we do, only so you can relate to your situation. So organization, that's why we're here, right? We do organize for 2 most important goals. One is we are being asked by business to be adaptable. Just in the past, we had a few switches, and we want, because our domain knowledge in the printing industry, we need the people who have it. It's not that many in there. The industry is fairly small. We want to keep them. So we organize, so we adapt, and we can switch to different things at low cost. So cost of change should be low. That means when we get a new product, happened recently by acquisition, people will not leave because we closed their projects. They will simply jump and just keep doing, love the problem, not the solution. Second thing, we do want to conquer the world. So we are building for scalability. When we are ready, we just make this much bigger. Specifically how we do that. We have one backlog, one list, which is ordered by priority of customer problems, and we organize it. It's owned by a PO, product owner, product owner is senior executive within Ysoft. So really even co-owner of the company, second biggest. So very senior person. I like to talk about him as Batman. And then we have two sidekicks. One is me, one is my colleague, I think Robin, that we help with everything. For our developers, we are all just PO, without difference approach, each of us. And we have teams. It's 16 is the current number. 16 teams that I have it called feature team here. It means cross-functional team. I use this term interchangeably. So they can take anything from the backlog and do it. It doesn't mean that they have to know everything. It means that they need to be willing and able to help and do it. And yes, some teams will be more efficient than others in certain areas, but I'll get to that again later. This is realistically how we organize. All teams have engineers in them. They don't have security analysts, business analysts, managers, tech leads, team leads, scrum masters, coaches. None of those dedicated roles exist in the teams. It's all software engineers. They do need to build secure product. It has to be designed well. It has to be pretty, but they just split those roles, however practical it is. They do not exist formally in the team. So it's just really flat organization of developers.
I want to ask something about this. So one of the hard problems, if you want to create real cross-functional teams, is to get rid of that sense of ownership of a certain, I'm the UX person, and if you say we don't have that, but that's a shared skill, maybe you want to share specifics on how you achieve that. If there's UX work to be done, then somebody who loves UX will do it, right? So there is this person or people who will pick it up, or is it really deliberately then given to somebody who doesn't have that expertise?
I would pick up on security, for example, because that's really shared on teams. So we do build those, they call it guilds, or in less, they call them communities of practice. That's where people who have interest in this area meet, they discuss, they share knowledge, and then they would, whatever is decided, they take into teams and perhaps work on that. So that's how they can still associate with some sort of expertise in that way. UX is actually one we wanted to dig into deeper, because I think if you've touched a printer recently, it's not the most user-friendly device in the company. Like coffee machine is more friendly. So the whole industry, it's complicated to build user-friendly products. So we have actually hired specific coaches that help us with UX, that help teams. So sometimes they design for them some design. Sometimes they teach them how to design it. Sometimes they consult us. So it's really a lot of coaching that they help with. So yeah, like this. All right. So I mentioned 16 teams, 7 people in each, always 16 times 7, 120 almost. And that's coordinated by only 3 people. When I go back to our organization goals, this is one of the examples how it's supported. Like we are absolutely forced, and we really even have a rule for that imposed by CEO. Hey, if we double the number of teams and you need more POs, you're doing it wrong. That's really the incentive that we have. So this is pretty much what, let's see if I can, right? We use feature teams, so we're adaptable. So when something new shows up on the roadmap, something big, some big switch even, stop developing this, that product is dead, switch on this one because something. What we do, we go to the backlog, we delete things, we put new things. That's pretty much everything that has to happen. And the teams will, it will hurt. In the beginning, there will be learning, but nobody will quit. Like this is part of our work, and this is what we identify ourselves with, solving that problem. One backlog comes with that, right? So this one. And the scalability, one example that I talked about is, we have 3 product owners for 120 people. So we are absolutely forced to delegate. If you don't delegate, you just die trying. We will be overwhelmed very easily. effectively ended up my first part on organization. Like this could go way deeper, but if there is any question on that, now is a good time. If not, I'll continue.
There is a question related to one of the previous slides from Jose. He's asking, what happened if the 3POs are not agreeing on the order of the backlog? If it did happen, what do you think you have put in place that counter that risk?
Yeah. A good thing is that we have only one PO. So it's his choice. It's his responsibility. We really have only one product owner for the whole backlog.
He's really the product owner. And like you said, you're his assistant, which
Yeah.
means that you don't prioritize. Then who does what then in this context?
Like most of the time, we don't make big changes. We are it's 3 people. So we sync, we talk to each other. It's really not that hard. We don't have a charter of split responsibilities. We talk to each other. We like meet daily. So we didn't have to deal with, I don't know, any formal split in anything.
Okay. Sounds good. It's organic.
Realistically, yes, it is right now.
Mhm.
Well, like we're discussing whether we need to do something more formal. We even tried a few things, but it always was just for a little bit, and then we switch again to something different. We organically split into, for example, I started focusing a lot more on what would be maybe a role called like a delivery manager. So I'm much deeper with the organization, how we do support, how we how stuff gets through the whole R&D machine. Others are maybe focused more on specific market part, but it really changes, I would say quarterly, maybe half a year, whatever's needed. And I see Olga, hand raised.
Hi, I wanted to ask what is the level of decomposition within the product backlog for this product owner to being able to define priorities?
It's an important subject because many product owners maybe here in the call or looking at this recording are maybe team product owners, and there's a big difference.
This is how we work. And I have 2 more goals. It's more like aspects that we really are trying to push and, or maybe principles. Business understanding, very important, and ownership. I'll explain. And I'll explain on a specific example. Let's put this SumDrive. This is online storage thingy like OneDrive or Dropbox or Box. Put files there. You pay them for that and this thing. So it's logical that somebody will want to scan into that place from the printer. Right? So you go to the printer, you put paper in there, type something at the panel, and the file shows up into your repository on the SumDrive, and then you will eventually see it on your laptop. So likely code something into the printer, into the cloud, and on the workstation, on the notebook, on the laptop. So this is a typical feature which requires a little bit of maybe discovery, but in general, we know what's there. It's a file that you have in hand and you want to have it on your computer, digitized. What happens is our teams all have names and logos and real identities. So this is Team Hound. They're located here in the Czech Republic, and they just finished some work. They finished some backend work. I think they work on some performance improvements because we, have a service right in the cloud, so it has to be reliable and perform. So they spent a lot of time on this, and that's a hard work. That's a lot of research, anyway, they came with, we would like to do something a little more rewarding. They said rewarding in terms of there is real customers who they can talk to and, get their work, let's say, appreciated. So what do? They take a look into the backlog, and this is what our backlog looks like. And I'll soon get to the level of detail. This is our backlog. So it doesn't live in Jira. It lives on the Miro board. Just because we are not all on the same location, Miro board is just awesome for this. We just don't have backlog in Jira because backlog is used as a tool to collaborate, which we're right now doing. Team Hound comes here and they go into the backlog because, of the collaboration within the team of teams, and they take a look on what's important right now. They go from top to bottom, and a lot of work is finishing, so it doesn't make sense to jump into help other team because the ramp up cost and time would be too high. So they decide, hey, this is a cool one. Also, it's fairly high on the list. Scan to SunDrive. So Ysoft want us, R&D, to build Scan to SunDrive to get some market or something. And okay, they'll take it. They take their logo, put it on there. And what they just did is they are becoming a driving team, epic driving team. It's also called leading team, I believe. In less, there is similar concept. We just call it this way. So it means that they own the problem. They own what we're trying to deliver, and they coordinate. It doesn't mean necessarily that they do it on their own. There is often some collaboration with other teams, but they own it. It's really their decision to go after this. And to make it a little more even better, I'll take you through our typical sprint and how they work, and that will hopefully explain the rest of that. Refinement first, it's their decision and their responsibility, the teams, to really deliver the solution so it's valuable and released as soon as possible. So we don't want them to, code everything and then big bang the release in half a year, unless there is important reason to, but it's not very often. We really want them to get it out of the door as soon as possible, and they slice it, they dice it into specific increments. Refinement, there is probably not that, well, we can touch refinements if you're interested, but they are all public and online, and anybody can join, and multi-team refinements happening normally every week. Sprint planning. So what happens at the sprint planning is that's every 2 weeks we do Scrum, right? So every 2 weeks we're running sprints. So at the beginning of the sprint planning, the team would say, okay, and this is the level of detail in the product backlog. So for this epic, for this functionality, business problem, we are delivering basic authorization by Hound. And because this is high priority item, they actually talked to team Ants, is the other one, who will help them with storing a single file in there. And what they do at the planning, every team, and this is part of how the scale works, they always indicate what will be the product increment in that particular, at the sprint review. Like, this is, dear product owner, dear Ysoft, dear other teams, this is what we will show in 2 weeks at the review. And we go through all of this every 2 weeks. It's like the shortest was 20 minutes. It really doesn't have to take long. The longest, about 2 hours. All 120 people get coordinated here. The meeting has about 30, 40 people usually in there. So we cross-check here. For me, super important to really make sure that this is what's delivered. I know about it, and we go. And then let's take a look at the review. Because a review is by far absolutely the coolest thing for me to enable that scale, to make sure that things that we are doing are the right things. So how we started 3-4 years ago, it was a developer would show a code. See, this is what I coded. Then they would show tests. See, here are the test results to prove that what I coded is valuable. And it was absolutely useless for everybody involved on that meeting. Yeah, completely. So we started iterating, started looking for, like, we did have CEO attending sprint reviews for 2 months, and those were hard 2 months. So we learned the hard way, but we did get to the point where this is the latest invention recently. But today, when Team Hound are showing something on the review, they actually have a printer. They have somebody with a phone, like we are on a meeting similar to this one. We do it online because of the location thing. They take a phone. Somebody will start showing, okay, now I'm sending a file from my computer. See, then it actually printer, right? At the printer, I scan the file, goes to the cloud. Here it's stored, here it goes. And this enables the discussion between who's there and who's presenting it. So the team and their stakeholders. Because suddenly I can have a sales guy there and this is cool. But, the competitive solution here I saw, they do it twice as fast. Okay, that's a valuable information. We wouldn't be able to get that without actually showing it. And we wanted to go further. So the teams actually came with those goals for the review. So we need to have the right people. For example, the Hound wouldn't be showing the backend cluster improvements to salespeople, marketing. Like there is no value. They don't get any feedback from them. Then if the solution will resolve the business problem. So we're really talking about what we're doing, why are we doing it, and we specifically focus on how we will change work in the future based on what we learned on the review. Those were voted in as important, like really by team members. When this happens, we know that the time on the review was well spent. And based to support those goals, we started looking for experiments, and we actually came with what we call a hands-on review. And it's super simple, thinking about it backwards. Like, I don't understand why haven't we done it all along. But so it's like you have this chocolate, you show it to people, see, it's beautiful, and how it smells and how it tastes, and nobody, we have to trust you. So we had to do that experience and let actually people try it. And the online tools are so awesome these days that it actually became possible. So we would have a meeting like this. Somebody, for example, the scanning, there's a guy next to the scanner. Somebody would take control over my share. They would go and actually, through the screen share, touch on the printer on things. The guy would place the paper. They can actually feel how it works. Others are observing. And that supports the discussion of what's needed, what's missing, so much more. So those became really valuable. And the coolest thing about them is that this is now requested by the team. So the team, Hound, in my case here, there is some stupid and terrible authorization flow in the SumDrive. And we're not really sure if what we're implementing is usable. This is hard. So they say, we would like to take our increment into the hands-on review, and POs and the rest of YSOS, please help us grab the right people who can actually review our work. And the team here ends, it just save a file. They'll show it internally to other developers maybe, but there is not much of a review needed in this one. So it's team with intent, what they will get on the review. So this, I think, was a huge boost in getting developers and teams connected with the right people. And so to recap, this is the end. So we do need our teams to understand the business because of the scale. We absolutely need them. So our sprint reviews are one of the best tools we have right now. They own the problem. The team owns the problem, not the solution. They own the problem. So they really drive the solution and they go after it, and they keep, let's say, it's all shared code. It's all going into the one shared repository storage system. So anybody can contribute anywhere, but they still have a little bit of ownership within whatever they developed. So when a bug shows up on that, it really goes back to them. They pick it up because everything is strictly volunteering. Like in my 4 years, we never had anybody to force into anything.
It's a good point made by Olivier Ledru. He wants to know, if you want to have this set up and you want to try this at home, guys, what kind of prerequisites do we have? Maybe one prerequisite could be, how senior do your teams need to be able to work like this? Is there anything that you've experienced in that direction?
We have some bad experience when we tried to get outside team. We tried to outsource a team from a company, outsource the whole team, the whole cross-functional team. Hey, here is the tech stack that we support. They put a team together, gave it to us, and that didn't work at all. Yeah, the expectations were not meeting. So we actually found that when we want to add more teams, and we've done it in the last, 5, 6, 7 cases, like really most, is we get some senior senior, not necessarily in terms of job title, but somebody who wants to grow a little more, and they would be the person around them the new team is created. So they bring some culture, they bring some tooling, and just they help them to start. So
You're passing on the DNA in a proper way instead of just throwing them into the deep. Yeah.
was to get a team thrown into this, we ask a lot from teams in terms of they really need to work as a team. Everything is team-based. Absolutely everything. Like even bonuses are team-based. Absolutely nothing is person-based. So the team doesn't deliver, the team gets, marked. This is a whole new topic. Team doesn't deliver, but yes, they can fail a sprint, and it's always a team thing. And we know from experience when teams constantly don't deliver, it means they don't talk to each other. The DNA is not there.
Don't you have successful teams who work with handoffs internally in the sprint? Say that, somebody prepares and he analyzes the problem better. Then somebody starts coding, then it's being tested and they iterate a couple of times like that. Does that happen inside the sprint in the teams, or do they all really work in parallel continuously, like in the...
It's really as practical. Very often they have some juniors who want to grow. Hey, you drive this more and I will be supporting you. Or a lot of mob programming, pair programming is happening. So actually most of the teams have very strong culture on learning, which helps with that cooperation.
What it means to deliver?
When they say what will happen at the end of the sprint, at the sprint planning, that's the only delivery that we're measuring in terms of, hey, you as a team did or didn't deliver. So they commit to we use story points because of budgeting, just so we can retrospectively follow some things, some metrics. They do take some number of story points which they estimated, and they are committing to delivering that. If they don't deliver it, every review, we take a look at the list of who didn't deliver. And whoever didn't deliver didn't get, over 70%, I think is our mark. Then we always show your last 10 sprints. So 6 months? If there is a trend, then we start digging into it. We get some coaches. We do have coaches outside of the organization. And we start looking into, hey, how we can improve. If it's one-time slack, then we don't care. So sprint to sprint delivery is what we actually measure, predictability, sprint to sprint predictability.
The question is also, if you don't use a tool that monitors work progress, then you have to administer it somewhere, or you just don't look at whip limits or cycle times or no detail.
In the background.
There is Jira.
People report time into Jira, tickets get updated. We just don't use any of their roadmaps.
So the main product backlog is what you guys as product owners drive, and where the touch point is with the teams, where they pick up work, and this epic on a high level business problem is being presented to the teams, and that's where they start refining from. And the details of the refinement might be administered in Jira then, or not even that?
Jira usually references some Miro board, which would have it. So we use Miro really for everything.
I still don't get what you do in Jira then, though.
Time reporting.
Only time reporting.
Time reporting is in there, and like every epic will be running for between 1 sprint and like even 15 sprints, some big chunks of work. So it will keep adding things in there, and then we can always take a look not retrospectively at any given time, whether, we want to keep investing into this or not.
And do you then also decide to add more teams maybe if you see that it takes longer, or is speed then not so important?
Usually we don't add more teams because of speed, because we've learned it doesn't help that much. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we do when we think there will be more work that can maybe be split in the future. Let's say we have a new brand of the printer to add. So this often doesn't make sense for more than one team to work on that, because there is not much additional work. So you have one team that gets the knowledge. We don't need that knowledge really on many more teams. But if we have, let's say we want to add one more 9 into our availability, then it makes sense to make this, project for many teams, because there is so many areas where they can dig into, but it will be with the same goal.
And then you have a voice in this to say, like, guys, Or do the teams then decide how much teams will work on an item?
It's fairly organic, actually. We do talk to them. I'm thinking if there is any framework on this, it's really case by case. It's not that many items. We have, 10 items in progress for 15 teams, 16. So it's not that many. And we see who's finishing the work. We can talk to them, hey, where you go next? And they consult us very often, or the teams are co-located in some cases, so they know that they are finishing and they will talk to the other team and help them out. So a lot of things like this are happening organically because they do know what others are doing, because we have synced.
So we said something about the maturity of the teams, and you have solutions for making sure that the learning happens inside the team so that they become more senior over time. But there's also a lot of trust involved. If teams need to find new work, and you say they go from top to bottom to look like on the backlog, what's the next piece of work that we could do? They also might have a preference and choose something that's a little bit lower on that backlog because they just like to do it. So are you okay with that? Because ultimately they would be delivering something that is of lower value than what you had prioritized.
It's realistically case by case. Sometimes it might make sense to do it just because, again, not everybody has to know everything, and it makes sense for them to stay focused in that area. So we would talk to them, like they see it, the order is there, they know they are skipping 5 items, and they will typically cross-check. And we do cross-check every 2 weeks at the planning. So it's not like we get surprised, suddenly we have half a year wasted development. No, we have plannings and reviews for this purpose as well.
Okay. Did you simplify your technical stack in some sort of way to make this happen? And what is the stack? How broad is it?
It is fairly broad because the printers make it really complicated. It's each brand, and each brand family might have their own SDK. That makes it pretty expensive, realistically.
You don't have an Epson team and an HP team?
No, we don't have that, but we do have a team who developed Epson. So they would have the best knowledge in there. But usually, somebody else can pick up a bug and fix it, or they do traveling if something like this happens. We not only discuss what will the team deliver for the product, we also discuss what teams need for the delivery to happen. And very often, realistically, every time, they do agree with some other team to help them with that. So yeah, we are doing this work, but we don't really understand the authentication mechanisms. So we need you, a team underground, if you could help us with that because you wrote it. And they will say, maybe no, we don't have capacity to help you. And then, okay, PO, we cannot deliver this. We take this work instead. Like this huddling here and there happens during planning.
And they don't decide then to do it themselves and learn because
It really depends. Okay. That valuable increment, it's too big, it's just too big. So they either wait for somebody to teach them, maybe next sprint, and maybe it's not that important to deliver it on time compared to some bug fix maybe. So it very much depends. We really have that planning to have the discussion.
Would you say that your teams are pretty much independent teams, that they can work on items really and most of the time not needing other teams? Or do your teams all need each other, or many teams need each other to deliver items?
Any team can pick up any item and deliver it
by themselves. And sometimes they want technology or knowledge by other teams who have more experience in it to help them out because it's larger items, and they agree on that. Okay. And then they collaborate.
The whole code is shared. Like we don't have anybody owning any piece of code. So like those dependencies exist only in terms of knowledge.
Is there then some standards that people need to adhere to? Is there somebody who sets standards? How does that work?
That's quite a topic, actually. Recently, we had somebody started putting some code into some other repository, into GitHub instead of what we use. And, oh, this is world standard. And yeah, it is world standard, but, we have all those 120 other repositories, which, so will you migrate them? So those are hard conversations, and they are run at the moment through agreements. So anybody can show up and ask and propose an agreement, and all teams have option to disagree with that. So in this case, a team who was really bothered by this, they came, and it's really always a team, really not a person. So a team would come forward and they say, okay, we would like to propose an agreement that we will not be introducing new technologies until this and this happens. Some sort of, I don't know, review on some architecture, be a community of practice. And so this is introduced on the planning. Here is the agreement. Here is what we're proposing. And each team has option either to vote for it or bring a blocking concern. And blocking concern is we disagree with that because, and then we start working on the because. In this case, it didn't happen, but that process of changing agreements is hard. It's a lot of people with a lot of opinions, a lot of smart people, really intelligent with different viewpoints. So we do a lot of experiments to make it easier for agreements to go through. Yeah, another example is we had our QA community. They wanted to dig a little more into what bugs are happening, and they came with a proposal of categorizing bugs based on the root cause, just some kind of proposal. And a lot of engineers hated it. Like, so a root cause of a bug is lack of testing. Yeah, that's every bug, right? Like, how can you categorize it possibly? And so they came to terms that, okay, let's please do it for 2 months. Let's try it for 2 months. Here is the terms. And then we will evaluate whether it brought something or not. And it happened, and it's happening for 5 or 6 months already. And they do have some interesting results, and they changed it a few times, what they're getting. And this was agreed by all teams, so they do it, ownership. That was in the presentation.
This is wonderful. We spoke for an hour. It's 20th of December, 2024, and nobody mentioned AI. There have been zero mention, and now I broke it. Last question, Zdenek, what's with AI and why?
I probably wouldn't go into that too much.
But do developers use AI assisted tools for?
Yeah, they do. It's from what I heard last time, it's they either hate it or love it. There's nothing in between. About half and half split.
I think it was great talking to you. We have a great community and it's growing. I'm super happy that we pull this off before the end of the year because it gives, we want to give direction and we want to create this group of people from org topologies that, have a thoughtful approach for organizational design and a thoughtful way of trying to make the world a better place to work in. Let's be honest. There's going to be a trillion of guests following Zdenek. Interesting people from the industry, thought leaders that have new stuff to share. We will talk with those people, whatever they have, and bring on the table.